Today I'm going to show you how to make absolutely delicious sourdough pigs in blankets. Sausage in an enriched dough. What's not to love? Hi, I'm Sune and I'm a food geek. Today I'm going to show you how to make sourdough pigs in blankets. These are the US kind of pigs in blankets, which is a hot dog baked inside a dough, and not the UK version, which are hot dogs wrapped in bacon. Albeit that is delicious too. I'm going all in with a very enriched dough with both milk, sugar, egg, and butter. And I gotta say, while it does amp up the calories, it also makes it extremely delicious. These will be a hit at your next gathering, or if you can't have those, you can just eat them yourself. I won't judge. If you're new to this channel, I bake a lot of sourdough bread and I make delicious food from all over the world. If you want to see more of this content, please join me by subscribing and ringing the bell so you won't miss any future videos. The flour choice in this recipe is 80% all-purpose flour and 20% whole grain wheat flour. I'm using home milled, but you can use any whole grain, but I'd suggest getting the finely milled kind for a softer texture. The added fluid is milk. I used 0.5% skim milk, but you can get an even more lush crumb by using whole milk. I used 2 small eggs, about 26%. The butter content is 20%. I use salted butter, but you can use unsalted if salt is a concern for you. I just don't keep unsalted butter in my fridge. 6% sugar and 2% salt. Classically calculated, the hydration is 45.5%, but I'm using my bread calculator, which gets to a more realistic 62.5%. It considers the hydration of the different ingredients like milk, butter, and egg, and adds it to the hydration. Just a note of caution to you. Because this is a highly enriched dough, expect fermentation times to be up to twice as long as you're used to. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider becoming a member at Patreon. You can also buy some merch or use the links in the description for tools and ingredients. Those were the words. This is the recipe.
The first thing we do is mix the dough. To a medium bowl, add 440 grams of bread flour, 110 grams of whole grain wheat flour, 33 grams of sugar, 11 grams of salt. Mix it up with your hands until it's thoroughly combined. Then add 110 grams of sourdough starter, fed and grown to its peak. 143 grams of egg, or 2 large or 3 medium eggs. 220 grams of milk. Mix until the dough comes together. Then put it on the kitchen counter and knead it until you have a nice cohesive dough. Then put it back in the bowl and cover it. Let the dough rest for an hour. While the dough is resting, cube 110 grams of delicious butter. When the hour's up, it's time to knead in the butter. Flatten the dough. Then add some cubes of butter. And roll up the dough. Then knead until all the cubes are gone. Repeat until all the butter is added to the dough. it will get messy at first. Keep kneading until all of the butter is worked into the dough. I use a plastic scraper to keep the mess contained. Then suddenly, as if by magic or probably science, the mess disappears and the dough is ready. Add the dough to a proofing container and let it grow by 50%. You should put it somewhere warm, as all the sugar, milk, eggs, and butter retards the dough, so it'll take longer to rise. Mine took about 5.5 hours in my Broad & Taylor proofer set to 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. When the dough is grown, divide it into 4 equally sized pieces and shape each piece into a ball. Then let the dough rest for 20 minutes on the counter. After 20 minutes, it's time to put the pigs in the blankets. You will need 32 hot dogs around 10 centimeters, 4 inches long. I got some specifically made for pigs in blankets of the right size, but you can just cut up some larger hot dogs, that's fine. Flour your counter liberally. Grab a dough ball and flatten it. Put some flour on top, then roll it out into a circle of about 20 centimeters, 8 inches. Then divide the circle into 8 pieces. I used a pizza cutter. I like to add some ketchup inside. This way you have the ketchup with you if you bring it for your lunch. Then add a hot dog and roll it up. Place on a parchment-lined baking sheet and make sure the flap is underneath. Otherwise, it might unroll as you bake it. Keep going until you've covered all 32 pigs in their blankets. It took 2 baking sheets to keep them all. Then brush each roll with egg wash. And I like to sprinkle some sesame seeds on top. If you watch my channel regularly, you know I have an affinity for sesame seeds. Cover them in plastic wrap and let them final proof somewhere warm for an hour. At this point, you should heat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You should use convection in your oven. If your oven doesn't have convection, you should bake at 220 degrees Celsius, 430 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, when the hour's up, remove the plastic wrap. And add the baking sheets to the oven. Close the door. Bake for about 7.5 minutes. Then rotate the sheets. Then continue baking for 7.5 minutes or until they're golden brown and delicious. When they're done, remove them from the oven and put on a wire rack. You can either let them cool or serve them immediately with lots of your favorite hot dog condiments. I like to eat them with my own homemade ketchup. You can watch my very first video on YouTube from March 2019 on how to make it. Link in the card above. Now, I don't know about you, but these pigs are ready for the beauty shots.
Yum to the max. These are best served warm, but are also delicious after they cool down. They freeze well and could be a wonderful addition to a lunchbox. Just grab a frozen one and put it in the lunchbox, and when it's time for lunch, it's thawed. The addition of sesame seeds on top is wonderful, but you can also try other seeds or just go seedless. It's up to your taste buds. In Denmark, we eat hot dogs with ketchup, but I know that's not always the case in the rest of the world. What is your favorite condiment for hot dogs? Let me know in the comments. I hope you learned something today. See you next time.